Hello everybody and welcome back to the next episode of the What Topic Podcast with your host Josh Deakin at Miss Josh Deakin.
And your co-host Owen Burkett at Owen.Burkett.
And today we are introducing a very special guest, Sam Singer. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Yes, it's good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm very well, thank you.
So just before we get started, where can they find you, everyone here listening?
Sam.Singer2000. You'll have all sorts of fun stuff over there, a bit of everything for you, photography-wise.
So it's not an episode talking about Sam's work that he does photography, but it is something that we've actually kind of wanted to do for the longest time. Actually, is actually do a podcast talking about. Obviously, we're going to talk about Marvel. There's no doubt there, but we might touch on DC as well. But we're going to be talking as a collective, us three, about a lot of the stuff that's going on currently. So this is a very exclusive sort of episode talking about all the different lore. Sam's got quite a lot that he knows about the different comic lore, and Owen as well. I'm not much of a comic one, so I'll be more sticking to the live action, the movie stuff, all those kind of things. But collectively, we've all watched Loki recently, the latest episode, and of course we've kept up with the Spider-Man stuff. So we're gonna basically just go down that long road and see where we end up. So I guess we'll get started with Loki then.
Yeah, but obviously we're on the 4th episode, and then in 2 days' time we'll get into the episode 5. Mm-hmm. I think things are starting to pick up in terms of plot twists and reveals and certain things. It's just unwrapping itself very seamlessly, I think. Which I thought. I've always said this from the beginning before the series aired. Like, I wasn't really too sure about making a Loki series, but you know what? I've actually been quite enjoying it.
Me too.
I just think that there's certain elements in it, like there's character arcs, especially with Loki, that he's not the same Loki as he was before. He's a much different person than he was, and it's a sort of natural progression throughout the whole thing.
Definitely.
I like where it's going, so I'm just intrigued where the next episode is going to take us, especially how it ended. So
I really hope they manage to stick the endings with Loki, but I think because I know with the other two they kind of didn't add anything. Like at the end of Avengers Endgame, Sam Wilson was Captain America, and at the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he was still Captain America. I think out of all of them, this would have it doesn't need to be wrapped up like the others needed to be wrapped up. I think this one could be quite open to perspective. Like, they could leave it the most open because of how Loki is, and they could pick it up at some other points.
And I'll pick it up anyway because they've already greenlit season 2. That's going to happen at some point in the next 3-4 years, so that's good. And then, I mean, you could say WandaVision was open-ended anyway because they showed her doing her magic, which will lead on to Doctor Strange and what's it called, of Madness? I forget the name. Multiverse of Madness. That's it. So there's a lot to do there, and I get what you were saying about Loki, Owen. I really didn't think much. Even on the podcast, it's actually quite evident. I've said it before that I didn't really think of much that will come from the Loki series, and I think that that's the one thing that I like about Marvel at the minute, that they just keep on surprising us and showing that even though he was, you could say, an A/B character in the MCU, he's really proving that he can be an A-grade character, and he can be up there with the rest of the Avengers and prove that he's not just this menacing basically asshole of a person constantly, and he's showing that his character development can continue to be stronger. I mean, you only have to look at him and Sylvie, the way that they responded in the last episode, the fact that they was that close to having a kiss, it looked like, let's be honest, and then he got killed, well, sort of killed, and sent to where the other Lokis are.
Okay, well, yeah, we're just jumping from spoiler territory, but no, it's... But I mean, it's just the fact that with Loki just realizing the type of person he is, when he was in that time loop with Sif. That's it.
Yes.
And he's just realizing that he likes the attention because he doesn't want to be alone. And you just kind of go, oh yeah, okay. And then obviously Mobius. Like that's the other thing. Mobius just dropped a thing where he goes, "How come we have to deal with like Kree and vampires and everything?" And I was like, "Oh, a little bit of reference to Blade."
Yeah,
So
that was good.
In Norse mythology, that's the actual reason why Thor got his hammer, because Loki cut Sif's hair off because they're husband and wife in the comic.
yeah, I did read about that. Yeah, that was cool.
It's quite good as well
So
because, like, she's been in Marvel Agents of Shield as well, so she's been in a show that's not 100% linked with the MCU at all. And actually, I think Kevin Feige was saying something recently with one of the directors from the Agents of Shield series, saying that like it's almost like a limbo thing with that show at the minute. Like they're not sure how that's all going to pan out down the line, because I think they're going to bring Quake. So Daisy Johnson is going to come into the MCU at some point, they believe. And obviously, then you've got your Daredevils. I don't think Luke Cage is going to make a return anytime soon.
we don't know.
Cage. I don't think they will. But I mean, anything could happen. Touch wood, obviously. But I think if there's any character that can come, any two characters that I think would probably make their way to the MCU, I think Quake will make their way in. Whether it's the same actor. And then obviously Daredevil, whether that's the same actor as well, because obviously we've had the Hulk, we've had all sorts of other TVs and movies where they've all had different characters. Well, different actors, sorry, not characters, obviously.
Yeah, I was going to say different actors, but there has been a very huge campaign to say, was it hashtag Save Daredevil or something on those lines, and they want Charlie
Cox.
That's it. Yeah, they want him back as so it seems like they are planning to potentially bring the Marvel Netflix actors back in the the Disney Plus stuff.
The way I Loki has the perfect way to introduce those other branch timelines.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing that really got me was the fact that obviously spoiler alert for those who haven't yet seen it.
Yeah, no, sorry about my spoiler alert. I didn't give it.
But when the mid credit scene where you find out it's like, because you always presume that when they get as they call it pruned,
Yeah.
they just get deleted or just killed, as you would think. But it seems like they get removed into that sort of existence and put into a different existence. And obviously, when we do see the Lokis, as it were, you see like New York City has been destroyed and it's the Avengers Tower that's been destroyed. And it's what got me was like, I just loved the fact that they got Richard E. Grant to be as the classic Silver Age Loki, which I thought that was really cool.
And then there's the alligator Loki.
Yeah, well, I'm not familiar with the other ones. I think I've seen Kid Loki a few times, but
Loki come into the comics in an event called Siege on Asgard. It's where Norman Osborn basically wanted to take over Asgard because it was just after Ragnarok, and they built Asgard in Oklahoma. So it was one of these things. Are you familiar with the Sentry from Marvel Comics? He's basically Superman for Marvel.
No, I mean, like I said, as we mentioned in our discussion before, I'm more of a sort of a DC person than
this is why we got
Marvel.
the expertise of you, Sam.
Anyway, spoiler alert, this guy Sentry, he kills Loki, like as the classic Loki, he kills Loki, and then he kind of gets reborn in this Kid Loki persona. That's where that comes from.
Wow. That's blew my mind.
I've never seen the bashful Loki, I think they called him, the guy with the hammer. That looks like
is it boastful Loki or bashful? Yeah,
something like that. And then Loki.
So where does Sylvie come into this then? Just is she a more recent addition to the comic before the show?
Yeah, it does seem like a recent, like the past 10 or so years that there's been a Lady Loki,
This is one of the things from the aftermath of this siege in Asgard. One of the things Loki did, so he didn't actually die and get sent to hell. He went to hell beforehand because he was making this deal, and he took his name out of the book so he couldn't get kept there. And he took the body of Lady Sif, then got killed, then come back as Kid Loki.
Ah, okay. Interesting. So like when he comes to actually meet her, he doesn't know. He knows it's her. He knows she is Loki, but like she doesn't know her backstory and everything like that. That's like the separation of their two lives, basically.
Yeah.
So it's literally like it's a double, but not a double because they're not the same gender, but they are the same. They've got a lot of sames, not sames. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting because of the dynamic duo between them, and then the fact that they nearly had a moment where they kissed. Obviously, before she, what's her name there? Who pruned him? I forget her name.
Ravonna.
Yeah. Before she pruned Loki, obviously they was going to have a moment, and I haven't seen much of the fan, discussion about this, but like, it basically seems like at that point, like that kind of interpretation of like from the the previous episode, like obviously him describing that he liked men and women, and then like you could say like he's kind of like it's basically he kissing himself just in a different body in a different gender. It's mad, isn't it?
If anybody was going to do that, it would be Loki, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Smile.
Oh yeah, he's so full of himself. So you kind of just it would just be like that person that just looks in the mirror and be like, I would like if I could.
That's it. In the mirror.
Or just be like just hugging each other. It's like, it's like, what are you doing? Oh, nothing.
Totally nothing.
Feel like the reflection like that.
It has surprised me. This series has, and
the
I
only
think
thing
that's great because because the continuing brilliance that's coming out of the shows.
The thing that I will admit that somebody else pointed it out, and I have to agree on it. The fight choreography is a bit tad slow. Like it just, like it's just I remember watching it and I'm like, why is it slow?
That's like it's like when you're listening to a song that should be a bit quicker tempo, but your brain's like playing this at a lower tempo, like not as fast.
I don't think it's like that. It's just
I don't know. No, I mean like it makes me think like that a little bit, but like I know it's just a placebo. It's not me actually interpreting it differently. It's just it is, but like
The way I see it is you've just come out of Falcon and the Winter Soldier and everything was like the choreography was pretty very on point. And then you've come to this and it's a bit subdued, slow down.
I think that's the sort of overall sort of thing with Loki. Loki isn't trying to be as high octane as Falcon.
I'm not saying that at all. I just personally think that if you're going to have a fight scene, then you kind of have to choreograph it or shoot it or edit it in a way that it needs to kind of live up to it. Otherwise you're just going to look at it and it's so odd. There was a bit where Sylvie and who was the other person? It's obviously not Mobius, but his girlfriend, that seems like it is.
What's the name?
But they're like having a discussion and you see like Loki fighting the other TVA officers and it just looks a bit off. It's like, what is he doing?
It looks like he looks like he's prattling about trying to attack him as opposed to actually just.
It's just like him. It's like like flapping his arms around. But
you know what though? That could be us examining that, and actually that could be just like a bit of a typical thing for Loki, like the mischievous, just like I'm just gonna like play fight kind of thing. Like he ain't actually being serious fighting. Maybe I don't know.
It's a bit weird how they've dropped all of his strengths. Like you saw him in the Avengers, what he was basically just come out of. He picked Stark up with his one hand and stuff. All this sort of stuff, all this feats. It's gone like that in this series. He's just.
You know what though? I think part of that reason is probably because like he's obviously been downbeaten by having to wear that collar. It stopped a lot of his magic in the TVA. Like he's probably getting back round to doing that magic again. I think he'll have a lot of that magic return in the next two episodes. Because obviously the next episode is the one before the finish. Obviously it's the penultimate. So obviously we'll hopefully see him now pairing up with the other Loki variants.
I remember another podcast I was listening to. They said like, could you imagine like Marvel did like an absolute like a major like Loki thing that the ending of that series ended on episode 4, I'd be like, what? Like,
Yeah, that would have been a fuck off. That would have been big time.
that would have been like such a low key move. That would be like, I'd be like, da at the end. that.
Yeah. Well, I think with this series, like, there's a scene in the trailer for episode 5 where he gets up and he's like in New York. Marvel have done it quite a few times where they've digitally removed stuff.
Yeah.
I avoid the trailers when they say like, here's a preview of like episode whatever it is, and I'm like, no, I'm not interested.
He gets up and you can see the whole New York skyline. It's
yeah,
like
I saw that. Yeah.
Now, but it's where it looks like how they've cut it. It's where he wakes up in this post-credit scene.
Okay. So it's almost like a sort of like a chunk of the reality from the Avengers first film.
Yeah, but it's like the Lokis aren't there in the trailer, so I'm thinking, are these versions of Loki just in his head? Or is this the sort of places where gods go when they get pruned?
Maybe.
Because you didn't actually see a human in the trailers.
And we didn't see Mobius either.
Yeah. I'm thinking, is this where President Loki is? Because there's 2 Tom Hiddlestons. In the trailer, you see President Loki and the TVA Loki.
Yes, because you've got the one that obviously died to the hand of Thanos, obviously, yeah.
Yeah. So I was thinking, is that where you're going to see President Loki from the trailer in this?
Oh yeah, because he's got the. I thought that was so when I first saw the trailer for the very first like look at Loki. I thought that president scene of him was him going through one of the portals in the TVA, and he basically had got access to the fact that like he could run this alternate reality that he's in. As Loki as president or prime minister or whatever, and I thought that he just basically like timed it just right in one of those scenes. But obviously, if it could be the case that this is in his after prune stage now, this could happen.
Because if there's more than one Loki there, which you've like just seen, it could literally be there, like because it didn't look like the best of places where he was. It looked like a run down place.
Bare down wastelands, yeah.
I think that they're going to have to do something with that within the next episode because you've already got the next episode and episode 6. I think
something that they're going to do with this. I think because of the fact that there's a new series coming, they're going to be having another series of this. I feel like this show's going to finish on episode 6. It's going to run the storyline into the next property that they're going to run this in. I don't know if it's going to have much of a link with what if, other than the different realities and stuff. How much Loki's going to really feature in it, because I can't remember from the trailer how much you see of Loki in it. I don't think we see anything of Loki, so I think any sort of repercussions of the end of Loki will more likely appear within the Eternals or Spider-Man. Most likely Spider-Man first, because obviously Spider-Man's obviously going to have as far as we're aware, Peter Parker from many different realities in the last films. As well, but then when you get to the next Loki series, that'll ride off of the coattails of the last film or TV show that features Loki or features something that's directed or like linked with Loki. So that will be a key point where a normal series like TV, like a normal TV show, like I don't know what's the TV show that you normally just like watch out of, like How I Met Your Mother, like each series follows on from each other, whereas Loki will follow on to another property in MCU, and that property, the property that tail ends the next start of the next series. So it's actually almost creating a new sort of series arc proposition, if that makes sense.
I can't help but think only one Loki's going to make it out of this series alive, though. I kind of think Sylvie will take over as the main Loki.
Either that, or the other Lokis help bring them together as like they fight it out, and then maybe they get a happy ending. I don't know. I feel like Loki could make that happen if he really wanted to, because obviously we've said like he's a mischievous guy. Like he ain't forgotten that he's mischievous. Like he knows he doesn't want to be alone. So, and as he said to Mobius, he doesn't want to be alone, and to Sif. So maybe he will remember that and take that through to the point where he's able to keep Sif around, keep Silver around.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe she'll partner up with him in the next series. Maybe she'll survive long enough to be in the next series where they're both going across the galaxies together.
Yeah. going back to the Spider-Man thing, because like you say, with the Loki series, it's just showed that the variants don't have to look the same.
Mm-hmm.
I.e., Peter Parker's where you'll have Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire.
So we go, yeah.
Well, I think it was about a month ago, what I think is Sony Latin America or something like that, they released the title card for Spider-Man Far From Home, and it was only about 8 seconds, and it glitched out like into the Spider-Verse. So it had Spider-Man No Way Home, and then it glitched out like into the Spider-Verse, which I think is really cool. And then
Wow.
it got taken down. I think it's still up on one or two, but on the original channel it got uploaded, it got taken down.
So is that an official channel?
Yeah, Sony Latin America. It's
Oh,
one of the
wow.
main ones because you have your different places for the different channels, don't you?
So this is the
Yeah.
so Sony has a deeper involvement in this next Spider-Man movie because obviously they're going to bring the IPs that they own of Spider-Man into the Marvel integrated one. Obviously,
Yes.
oh, this wouldn't have obviously happened if it wasn't for the fact that oh god, I'm getting a name blank here. God,
Um,
Tom
Holland.
Tom Holland. Yeah, I had a big brain fart moment there. Tom Holland. If it wasn't for Tom Holland, I don't think that Spider-Man would have continued in the MCU. I think that was something that was quite big last year. Like a massive thing happened. Like the directors spoke together with Tom, and I think that's why this is still going ahead because I think this obviously was meant to happen, and then there was a big fallout over money. Obviously, as always, the world runs on money.
Well, Sony was kind of like, no, we own Spider-Man, but then Disney was pretty much like, well, without us, Spider-Man wouldn't be as big.
And I don't think
You
you
know,
get. I think the fans wouldn't come as far as to say yeah, because they would be knowing
No,
that it wouldn't be
and
the official
but
thing.
even though Sony is trying to do their own Spider-Man universe with Venom, Morbius,
Raven.
and I really don't care what Sony are doing. I honestly don't. And so it's kind of like, well, you do need Disney's help with all this because otherwise, I honestly think they just would not have a clue what to do with it.
Mm,
So I'm glad that Tom Holland, I think he contacted Bob Iger about it,
it
and
is. Yeah.
then Bob Iger was going like, what's going on? And then they were like, oh, we can't make a deal with Sony and this and that. And then they were like, right, well, we need to do something about it.
I
So
remember 16-year-old me seeing Spider-Man in the Civil War trailer. I lost my mind because it was
Yeah.
like,
I remember that sort of reaction when I went to see Spider-Man Far From Home, and then there was the post-credit scene, and then it was J.K. Simmons as J.
yeah,
Jonah Jameson. I
yeah.
literally shouted, "What?"
It's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Do you know though? I've got to be honest. Tom Holland is not my favourite Spider-Man. He's my least favourite Spider-Man. I'm happy he's in the MCU, but my favourite one is Tobey Maguire. And I know people use
Is I liked Tommy Maguire as
Me
like
too.
I mean granted like they look a bit tad old to be like high
Yeah.
school students in the first movie.
That's usually people's gripe with it, isn't it? He's like, he looks 13, he's meant to be playing like a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think CGI was good enough then to make him look a lot younger if they wanted to.
No.
But the thing was, it's like it's got enough. I don't have any problems with Andrew Garfield,
Mm.
but
Spider-Man,
those amazing Spider-Man films are awful. They really are. It just felt like they weren't really films; they were just products.
Yeah.
And
For
that
me,
was
I think Andrew Garfield could have been amazing. I think he was a good Spider-Man in
He has the
terms
enthusiasm. He has the drive.
Yeah.
Him and Emma Stone, the chemistry was brilliant. It
Yeah.
was perfect. Like, there's no way
Spider-Man.
there. The scene at the end where he's literally trying to save her before she hits the ground, and she yanks. That gripes you. It gets you where it hurts the most, and it made me cry. That was really sad.
I felt
I
nothing.
that
I felt nothing just because I just knew what was going to happen.
Oh
It
yeah,
just felt
you knew what was going to happen. But it was quite nasty the way it happened.
it just felt like a tick box that they went, all right, well, everyone knows about the whole Gwen Stacy thing in the comics. Let's do in this one. I was like, okay.
So you'll say it's more of a cop out that they did that then?
Oh no, the whole movie was a fucking cop out, basically.
To be fair, I do think I've always preferred the Tobey Maguire movies because they are the ones I grew up with, but I actually like the charisma, the charismaticness, and the jokey smiliness that Andrew Garfield brings to those two Amazing Spider-Man movies.
I think he got it down to a T.
If you can bring Tobey, Andrew, and Tom together, which they're going to, it seems, it's going to be a really good. Like,
well, they keep doing this whole thing where like we haven't confirmed it, and like, oh, stop bushing around. Like we know that they're in there.
Secret ever. It is the worst ever.
It's the worst kept secret next to Tom and Zendaya. Those photos are funny. They're like, "Oh, look us, we're kissing," and then they're like, "Ah ha ha ha," because it's like a big charade kind of thing at the minute with the paparazzi.
Although speaking about sort of reveals, like that Shang-Chi trailer that came out a couple of weeks ago, that got me pumped, honestly.
Abomination at the end of that, I've never been happy. I've been waiting for him to come back since 2000.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I wasn't a fan of the Incredible Hulk, but just
favorites, that is.
But just to see like a comic book accurate looking Abomination.
Oh gosh,
was pretty cool.
It was really good seeing him.
8-year-old me went to the cinema to see that Hulk film that came out 3 days before my birthday. And I remember seeing Abomination for the first time, scared the living crap out of me. But I remember afterwards, I was like, mate, this is sick. And I was like, oh, yeah, it'll be in the next film. It'll be in the next film.
Nope.
Yeah.
No.
But the one thing I am looking forward to now, since they're doing a lot more with the Hulk or She-Hulk and that Red Hulk, hands down.
Looks good.
They're sort of like still trying to fit. I mean, obviously, like you said, they're obviously bringing She-Hulk, and then Mark Ruffalo is coming back for that. They haven't really mentioned anything because obviously Disney tried to buy Hulk away from Universal, and Universal was like, no, like, yeah. I'm like, what are you gonna do with it? Nothing. We just don't want you to have it. It's just like, all right.
Well, the revert back eventually if Marvel stopped using him and Universal didn't make a film, the rights would naturally reverse back, wouldn't they?
That's true. But the thing is, though, time isn't on Marvel's side for that, I don't think, because in their divine timeline, which, not to jab hands at DC, but Marvel have got this big timeline that is striking in so many different ways, and then obviously you've got the fact that the Fantastic Four is right at the end of that timeline, and it's almost just like unstoppable to the point that like only something like the Hulk could really fuck things up if they had to do that to naturally get working.
Well, who's to say that the Fantastic Four would be the end of that timeline?
No. I mean, like that's like the midpoint probably in the.
Because we still got Ant-Man, which everyone's now. I mean, kind of going back to Loki, but apparently people are making theories that.
The universe that he went to.
They're making that. It's not just that. It's just apparently they think that. Instead of the Time Lords, there's the villain in Ant-Man.
Kang. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah,
we've already been proven the point that the Lords at that temple bit was not the real the real timekeepers because they were just robots.
Well, they kind of changed that from the comics, so they just made it out like, oh, they're just androids. But yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. Like, it's just talking about villains and everything. Like, I really am just interested in like how Shang-Chi is going to play in all this. And it's just, we finally get to see the real Mandarin. And I think the fact that they brought in a really great Hong Kong actor, Tony Leung, to play the Mandarin, I thought that is just
the Raid movies, isn't he?
Sorry,
he's the guy from the Raid movies, isn't he?
No, that's Hero somebody, but no, it's not that. It's not him.
Next Sub-Zero, didn't he? Yeah, that's why I'm getting confused.
And obviously, we've obviously had the Mandarin basically faked to us at least twice now from the Iron Man movies.
Well, I mean, in Iron Man 3, they made it out like Ben Kingsley was going to be the Mandarin. in the trailers they made it out like he was going to be the real Mandarin. Then you watch the film, it's not, and then it's revealed that Guy Pearce's character is the Mandarin, but then that turns out to be nonsense because then they did this short film called Hail to the King or something, and they said like the Mandarin's not happy at you and what was it? Yeah, they just took his name, so it's now revealed that this one is the real Mandarin.
So basically, it's been like, in a way, like what they originally was hoping for, they kept on changing basically because they weren't satisfied. Probably
they like kind of course correcting it in a way.
Yeah, because obviously there's a lot of mistakes there is in the Marvel in Infinity War and Endgame. There's a lot of mistakes of different characters in different time zones. Like when they're doing the scene where like they're showing all the different people that have been clicked away, and you see like other things there, like kind of like Sharon, for example. Like there's a defined difference of things that they've calculated wrongly at those times.
Yeah, it's Wakanda, and when it cuts to Nick Fury, technically night time in Wakanda.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, I just looking back at like even the timeline now of like the way that you should watch the Marvel movies now. Like you technically you're supposed to watch the first Avenger first, and then you're supposed to watch Miss Marvel now.
That would be so confusing if you had to give somebody to give that to like watching timeline order. Like Captain America, Captain Marvel.
Yeah, Captain Marvel. Sorry, not
Marvel.
Captain
Marvel. Marvel for the rest of the MCU up until you see her in Endgame.
I know.
That must be really confusing.
That's it, yeah.
It's literally going on time, on the actual year, isn't it? Essentially.
Yeah, because it's literally like, Captain America, the first Avenger, then Captain Marvel, and then time jump to...
Avengers.
Iron Man.
No, Iron Man.
Oh, sorry, Iron Man. Iron Man, yeah.
Then Iron Man 2, then Thor, then...
Hulk.
So on. Hulk, everything. And basically, after Captain Marvel, you can pretty much watch them when they came out released.
Well, for somebody who's just seen Captain Marvel, I'd be like, oh yeah, Captain Marvel will be in the Avengers. Endgame.
Yeah. It's funny because I watched it recently. I hadn't watched it until recently, but Samuel Jackson, he looks fucking great. He does as a young character in that. He looks really good.
Looks just like a Deep Blue Sea.
I mean, the only problem I have with that de-aging with it's just the problem with that is he still runs and sounds like 60-year-old Samuel Jackson.
Oh yeah.
Looking, I mean, I understand what they were trying to do, and I appreciate the hard work that goes behind it. But it's the same problem that I had with when they did it with The Irishman, which I really enjoyed. The Irishman, like, I think it's one of Martin Scorsese's best. But the way they tried to make like Robert De Niro and Al Pacino and Joe Pesci look like in the 20s and 30s, 40s, and so on, you could tell that they kind of hunched over, like, rather than like as we are our age, in our 20s and 30s. Like, it's a huge thing that and it's like the problem when they were trying to make CG characters early on. It's all about the eyes. So once they figure that out, then you can make believable characters later on. But then it's like oh yeah, that's really cool that you can de-age actors. But the problem is, like, I think ideally you have to put them on younger body doubles, and then put them and then rotoscope their faces onto those body doubles, because the whole time I was watching Captain Marvel, I'm like, yeah, that's really cool to see a younger Samuel Jackson, but the way he moves and sort of everything else, it's just, you could tell like it's still 60-year-old Sam Jackson. But I'm really excited to, because the thing is, like, people were thinking like, oh, there's no more Captain America, Thor, or Iron Man, or that, the usual,
that was the original was it 1 to 3 phases of the MCU, basically. That was that, and obviously like that ended, and now we're basically going to get to the new version of Avengers at some point.
We're getting to the point where, because obviously in the Marvel comics there's been so many versions of the Avengers groups that
East Coast, West Coast, New Avengers, Secret Avengers, you name it, they've got it.
So many.
Isn't the Secret Avengers supposed to be the one that's the next one? I think, if I'm remembering.
Well, they mentioned about no, that's the well, they mentioned the Secret Wars.
Secret Wars.
Secret Invasion. That's the series.
Secret Invasion. That's it.
Secret Invasion.
That's the one with Emilia Clarke, Sam Jackson, and the geezer.
That's going to be so good. That is though that they've now got signed on Emilia Clarke. I mean, I'm looking forward to in a few days' time. We're going to literally see Hopper from Stranger Things in the MCU, and he looks badass as fucking Black Widow. He looks really good looking.
Oh, David Harper. Yeah.
David Harper, man. Honestly, that man is an absolute piece of hunk. He is.
Yeah, apparently he's like I've heard from reviews like he's one of the best things in the film.
That brings music to my ears.
But I've got tickets to see it with my siblings on Thursday, so we'll be doing a review on that pretty soon.
That's fantastic. I'm hoping to go and see it maybe by the end of the week if I'm lucky. I might try and see if I can get my mate Christian to come out, and then we might actually be able to do a joint review. All that.
But yeah, speaking of Marvel, it was a couple of weeks, 5 days ago. That's it. They started filming Black Panther 2 in Atlanta.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah.
So there's still no details how they're going to work around.
Chadwick Boseman, yeah.
But I think everyone is pretty much. Yeah. I either guessed it or there's just that theory that it's just going to go to his sister Shuri.
They're going to skip.
Whoever did anything with that film, I really hope Ryan Coogler does it justice, and I know he will.
I think he will because I think he's a fantastic director. I loved Fruitvale Station, and I thought he did really well with the first Creed film. And
yes,
I think
that was a master. Love that film.
And then like boxing stuff, don't you, Sam? So that really helps you on that sort of basis.
Do you know what? Kind of going off subject a little bit, but I thought to myself, I've seen Creed 1 and I watched Creed 2, and I thought these are great, but I still, at that point, I was like, I haven't seen the original Rocky films. So during lockdown, I'm like, okay, I need to watch this. So I finally watched 1 to
1 to 4 is the best one. Then you got
1 to 6. Yeah, I watched 1 to 6. Like didn't skip anything, even though I heard 5 is boring and bad, which it was.
Better learn now than later.
But you know what? Number 4 is such a guilty pleasure. It's pure like 80s, like the whole thing with the robot. The whole thing with the robot. You're like, what the fuck?
Hulk Hogan at the start.
Oh no, that's number 3 you're talking about with Mr. T. He's like,
what's his name? Clubber Lang.
Oh my god, that number 3. The thing is, like, I should remember it, but I was like, I don't really remember it much other than Mr. T just being so wooden. It'd be like, yo, fool, I pity the fool. Like that.
I disrespected your wife.
Yeah, yo, man, you should be going to me. I'll show you who the real man is. So you're just like,
yeah, that's my favourite Rocky. That is Rocky 3.
Well, if you follow Sylvester Stallone on his official Instagram, like he's doing a director's cut of Rocky 4.
Yeah.
So I'm like interested what he's going to do with that one.
I heard he was doing another Rocky film, like a spin-off for Creed. I don't know how true that is, but I heard on more than one.
They are doing a third Creed.
Yeah,
I don't know because there's reports that Michael B. Jordan wants to make his directorial debut with that one. I'm not sure about that.
Really well.
But yeah, no, I really enjoyed Creed. I thought that was a really fantastic film. Like
soundtrack.
Yeah, great soundtrack. And then I quite enjoyed number 2, even though it was like, yeah, it's all right.
Redoing the first films.
I mean, it's definitely one of the better sequels in the Rocky sort of series.
Oh yeah.
You know what? I remember watching the first one, and that was when it won Best Picture and Best Director and all that. And I was like, okay, all right, you know what? It's whatever. I actually enjoyed the second one a bit more.
Yes, I feel that. Yeah.
Because what I liked is that it was after the fact that even though he lost, he's still got, he's still got a fan base, but he's struggling to do these sort of, tedious things like doing commercials or, whatever it is that to bring the money in.
It's quite a change of events because normally the second movie never lives up to the first movie, does it?
That's just Toy Story 2. Yeah.
To be fair, though, as a kids' film, so I think it gets the right to do that probably more than anything. Like, I mean, let's be frank here. There are loads of movies that are mostly. To be fair, a lot of people might disagree with this, but I think that when I look at it in its sort of children's state, but obviously I've watched it as an adult because obviously I watched the first one as a kid. The in between sort of limbo between the movies, The Incredibles 1 and 2, I think are both collectively great movies. They both work on different strengths of the different times they were released in. But I mean, you can see the progression in art style in the second film. The second film is so visually pleasing. The colours, like the colours are just like so like. I mean, you can watch it in 4K for starters. I mean, that shows you the progression in years.
Well, you've got a great director with Brad Bird, and the fact is that I keep pushing. He made Incredibles 1 and 2, and then he made Ratatouille, and then he made like probably one of the few underrated action films, Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol.
Oh, that was a good film. I really enjoyed that.
Well, he did First Iron Giant as well.
That's what I was getting to. That's what I was getting to. Like, I've been pushing people to watch that because nobody, like, it's like this cult classic that, everyone's like watching it going, oh, that's so good. And you're just like, yeah.
It's crazy. I was in high school and I watched that. That film was put on for me in high school. No joke.
And it didn't do, but the thing was, it didn't do well at the box office because people just didn't go to see it. And you watch it and you're going, what the fuck is wrong with people? But
how does that happen where a movie is that good and then it misses the mark at the box office? That's like, it's like something went wrong with the movie selection.
No, it's the same thing where you got films that are an absolute. The reason why they're called cult classics because when they were released, people didn't give a shit, but over time, people just went, "Oh, it's actually really good."
It doesn't happen like that very much anymore.
It's like the same thing. It's like the same thing with everyone's favorite film of all time, The Shawshank Redemption.
See, I'm not a fan of that.
Neither am I, really.
Oh, man.
See, one of my favourite cult classics, The Evil Dead. Sam Raimi's Evil Dead.
The Evil Dead, yeah. I like the first two. The third one's a bit too jokey.
Camp, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. But I actually did, but you know what? I did quite like the remake that was made.
That was good. There was meant to be a sequel for that with Bruce Campbell.
It was going to tie in like with that female Ash to Bruce Campbell's Ash, but that somehow didn't.
Well, they're doing a new one now, aren't they? Called Evil Dead Rise, and it doesn't have Bruce Campbell in, which I'm loving.
That's it. But then, speaking about that director who did the Evil Dead remake, he's written and producing the sequel of Don't Breathe.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, they just released a trailer of Don't Breathe 2. And Stephen Lang's back. So
I saw the trailer, but is there any need for that movie? Because he was like the
not really. It was. I thought the first one was solid.
Yeah, the first one was great. A bit messed up, but great.
Yeah.
Like the good guy in this one. That's like the total 180. Like at the end of the first one, there was like
that was the point of the first one. Like, obviously, if you didn't watch the trailers, then you would know exactly what you're getting yourself into. But that was the whole point. Like, you watch it, and then he becomes this boogeyman almost.
Yeah, like there was the girl at the airport, and I swear in one of the I don't know whether it's the definitive ending, but there's two endings, and there's the one where there's the main girl from that film. She's at the airport and he's also at the airport, like hunting.
I haven't heard that one.
That's interesting.
So it might be on the DVD if you've got the DVD.
I think my brother's got the Blu-ray somewhere, but
it's the alternate ending.
Oh, it might be on YouTube. I might check it out. But I mean, speaking of horror films, they released a new trailer for Halloween Kill. Well, actually, two trailers I'm going to mention. So the first one I mentioned is Halloween Kills. That I'm looking forward to. I really liked the 2018 sequel because I never understood the whole thing with making Laurie Strode and Michael Myers like brother and sister. I never just bought it.
They needed to get rid of that timeline because at some point in it, Busta Rhymes beat Michael Myers through. So, it had to
Trick or treat, motherfucker!
Hey guys, I've just looked it up on Netflix, but they've now released a bit more stuff for the Resident Evil Infinite Darkness series, and it says here now it's coming Thursday, the first episode.
Okay.
That's a development change, that is, but it looks like it's gonna be really good. Honestly, I'm excited.
Is it me, or do you think the newer Resident Evil games are not as good? The first, I like them, but I don't think they're great.
I don't. Yeah.
Resident Evil 5 was a bit of a weird one because
it was a mixed bag.
The controller character was what's her name?
Shiva.
Shiva. You literally tell her to like come and help you, and she'd be there like, "What the fuck am I doing?" And then Resident Evil 6 was so stupid, it was unreal. Resident Evil 7 picks back up again. And I think the story arc between 7 and 8 is brilliant.
I don't like those. They're all right, but I don't.
Okay, question then: did you like Resident Evil 4?
Yes, loved it.
Okay, so I'm surprised that you didn't like Resident Evil 8 then.
I'm a die-hard fan of the original core Resident Evils.
We are too. We are too. But the thing I think that defines the newer Resident Evil 7 and 8 is because it basically like kind of takes the time. It winds the clock back to before even Albert Wesker, and obviously with Albert E. Spencer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, and obviously how he came to know about where the progenitor was, obviously in Africa.
Yeah. Next time we're in Birmingham, Josh, I've got something to show you there. There is an Umbrella security company, and it's the exact same logo as the umbrella symbol behind you, but it's blue shades instead of red.
Oh, it's someone like got an actual like logo for their place in Birmingham.
I think it was quite funny. Somebody made a meme that they were like saying when the pandemic started, like it started like it's man-made and this and that, and they showed an actual company called Umbrella.
There's actually an Umbrella Corporation.co.com or something website that's like a fake Umbrella Corporation website. It's still out there. I think it's part of the promotion from Sony Pictures.
Yeah.
Probably.
Pretty mad, yeah.
I'm interested what the reboot of that live action film series is going to be.
Like a little trailer for where some people went in a house. And
I don't think they've released anything, but they did say it's going to combine Resident Evil 1 and 2 into the same film.
They've changed a lot recently, though. Now on Netflix, you can now watch Vendetta, Damnation and Degeneration. They've now put them onto Netflix just literally in the last 2 weeks. So I think that's part of their plan as they're bringing in the new Resident Evil series that's coming up, obviously. So
Djokovic's Resident Evils, I think they're great.
I do like them. They are
they're bad, but they're good.
Let's be frank here. I think Afterlife is absolutely god awful, and then I think the final chapter, because we know it's not the final chapter, because they're doing another one.
That many jump cuts in it, but I don't regret watching it.
No. I still think that the best Resident Evil film in the whole of the film series is still the first one. It's still the first. The first one instills this like it's not a scary film by any stretch of the imagination. The laser scene might make the laser scene might make a few young people like fucked and scared like it, but overall it kind of brings together great characteristics and great capture of time, because you get from one point of the film to another point of the film, and you're like, a lot has happened in that time, but it's been in such a short space of time, because the movie's only about just over 90 minutes, and so much happens in 90 minutes. I mean, the latest one that they released in 2016, the last one, was an hour and 46 minutes, and I feel like it was really badly timed. That was.
The first Resident Evil film made me scared of elevators for about 5 years.
It did actually make me feel that way for a little bit, because of the fact that the lift literally is like, and it's dun.
It hardly ever happens.
Yeah.
And I would never be in a situation where my neck is out of an elevator on the floor. but it just made me afraid of elevators for about
The
5
thing,
years.
the thing that brought me about it is because of the fact that elevators don't work that way. Elevators don't just like let go of things like that. That's like no safety procedure would allow that. And like people have said to me, well, what happens if like the Red Queen, she basically just turned off the security? Well, she can't, because the Red Queen only has as much control as like the controls of the system allow her to have. So she couldn't turn herself off. Other people could turn her off, if that makes sense. Being the head programmer's daughter, being jammed into a computer, she still has a human element with her, which is part of the reason why the White Queen coming into extinction really kind of like shows shows that like the Red Queen isn't all that bad, even though she was all that bad, because she was trying to contain the virus in the most poorest potential way by just killing everybody in one go.
They kind of forgot about the Red Queen in the later ones, didn't they? Up until the last two, I think.
So the the Red Queen or the White Queen? Sorry.
Red Queen, like you didn't see as much in the first two.
Nah.
She's really popular, wasn't she?
She's in the Albert Wesker ones onwards, obviously in Afterlife. So, yeah. But I think she looks shit. I know it's meant to be a modern movie at that point, like, and obviously you see the Red Queen from the original movie, but don't you just love the moment where like they're starting to try and take her down and turn off the Red Queen in the chamber in the first film, and then you just see the projectors go like that, and they start projecting her in bits in front of you, just like, whoa, that looks so cool, and like also pretty freaky.
Yeah, it must have been cool in 3D. That.
Oh, I don't know if it was in 3D, the Resident Evil first film.
But not the first one.
It would have been cool.
Definitely from 2010 onwards, they were.
I mean, the bits of the laser. Yeah, that's the Avatar. Yeah, the laser scenes in the final chapter, because obviously they go back to the original hive and all that bits and bobs, because obviously all of the Umbrella Corporation that basically went on deep freeze is underneath that, and they didn't even know that from the first film. But obviously that was added in to like kind of bring the movie to a close. And I feel like it was quite a rushed ending, the final chapter, because a lot happens that's like just non-needing.
In the previous film, you had like Claire, Leon, Ada, and then
Chris Redfield
in a novel that they got killed.
Yeah.
No, I just felt like, with Paul W. Sanderson, he was just having the whole entire series. He was just having a massive boner with his wife Mila Jovovich, and he still does it with the recent was it Monster Hunter?
Yeah.
Oh God. So yeah, I just think that with Resident Evil, I love playing the games. Just watching them is a totally different thing.
3, Chef's Kisses, amazing.
I've played number 2. I've waited for 3 for the price to drop down, because they all said number 3 is good. It's just not worth the price of.
You can tell not as much money went into 3 as they did 2,
which is really weird, because they knew how well 2 did, so they should have accelerated the cost amount that they put into it.
No, but the thing was, Capcom, I think it was reported that they were originally going to make Resident Evil 3 as a DLC with Resident Evil 2.
That really disappoints me, because Capcom at this point should realise that apart from like the Street Fighter series in Capcom, Resident Evil is their bread and butter, pretty much, isn't it?
Do you know what they should bring back? They should bring Dino Crisis.
Yes, Dino Crisis.
Okay, I know it's not. I don't think it's Capcom. You remember Turok?
Yes, yeah.
I love Turok, a bit like Dino Crisis.
I think Dino Crisis was just Resident Evil, but with dinosaurs instead.
That sounds a bit hard to believe. Like, I feel like that would be something that Universal would have to do with Jurassic World.
But yeah, I remember watching, because my friend had it on his PlayStation. I think I was just watching it, like, this actually is pretty cool. It literally is like Resident Evil, just switched to zombies to dinosaurs, and I'm like, you could make something really cool with it. So whether they're going to make something out of it, who knows? So
yeah.
Remember all the stuff that was like Resident Evil, like arcades? The one that I always used to see was House of the Dead 3.
House of the Dead, yeah.
House of the Dead still exists.
Security guard, like, run after you, the massive security guard, like a bat on that, trying to kill you.
I played House of the Dead recently at the NQ64 in Birmingham. It's, for those who've never heard of NQ64, it's an arcade bar brand where you can play old GameCube games, PlayStation, Nintendo 64. Yeah, and then you've got games like Track and Field, Street Fighter, and then obviously as the one after named, the House of the Dead.
Well, speaking about video games, is there anything that's coming out that you're looking forward to?
3 games. Both the Batman game. Well, no, I say both the Batman games. Suicide Squad, the Batman game.
I know you're talking the Gotham Knights. That's it.
Gotham Knights. See, you'd think that would be the sequel to the Arkham games, wouldn't you? Because Batman's dead. But it's not. It's a different.
If you get the 100% like completion, yeah.
I'm still looking forward to a game that hasn't even had a release date yet. I'm looking forward to the reboot of Fable.
Oh wow!
I love Fable.
That you have to talk to. Who's the guy who developed it? Is it Phil Mayhew or something?
Oh, you mean Peter Monago? I think his name is
Monaco or something like that.
But, Peter Mononukes. I think.
Mononukes. But yeah, I did remember playing one. I don't know if I played.
I played 2 was my. I didn't play 2 because I was just out of the range of 2, and I played 3. 3 was a bit of a controversial one for most people, but 3 was my jam. It was my bread and butter.
I think
apparently
I
had it on Steam, but they removed it off Steam, so I couldn't play it anymore. But they've added it to the Game Pass not long ago, so I've been waiting to get Game Pass to play it again.
Well, the problem with that is that did you say Peter Monaghan?
Peter Mononukes, I think.
Mononukes. Well, I think it's
hang on, let me check.
I don't think you pronounce the X, but yeah, Peter Monaghan. Yeah. The problem with that is he was somebody who would make a lot of promises and they would never fulfill. Yeah, that exactly. So,
I'm trying to see where his name is.
I don't know. But there's a couple games I'm looking forward to. One of them is it's not really a new game.
Peter Molyneux. It's Molyneux.
I don't think you pronounce the X. It's Monaghan.
Hang on. I'm gonna see if I can get the pronunciation just right.
But so there's a couple of games I'm looking forward to. There's
Molyneux. Got it.
Okay. I thought it was just a sign X, but anyways. First one is Aliens Firestorm Elite. Mm-hmm. I hope to God it turns out to be as awesome as it sounds, because the last time we had something with Colonial Marines was Aliens Colonial Marines. And look how much of a dog shit game that was.
Alien Isolation wasn't there after Colonial Marines?
Oh no, I'm talking about like an Aliens property with Colonial Marines.
Oh, okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because the last time we had that, it was Aliens Colonial Marines, and that was god awful. Yeah. So when I remember I've seen a video of it or a trailer of it, and I thought this looks really cool that you can customize your character, and it's 3-player co-op, which you could be like one's an electrician, one's an engineer, one's a heavy duty, and one's just a regular soldier. I thought that's really cool, and it's almost like Left 4 Dead almost, because it's not scripted. It's still the same missions, like from A to B. Like there's still things you have to do on the way. But yeah, it's there's different. The xenomorphs won't come out the same way it did if you died previously or whatever. So it sounds really cool, and I just hope, fingers crossed, it turns out to be as good as it looks. So. That's that, and then the same month, next month, that's coming out in August. They're releasing Ghost of Tsushima, the director's cut.
Okay.
And I haven't played. I don't own that, but you know what? I will own that. And there's actually a detail that they've updated, and I was like, thank God. They've updated. Again, it's a small chain detail, but they've synced with the Japanese language, because when you change the language from English to Japanese, you see their mouths move and they're still speaking in English. So they were like, it's like the audio's Japanese, but they're clearly speaking English. And
so it's been dubbed basically.
So it's kind of like when you see foreign language actors being dubbed by English, just complete opposite. And then this new director's cut version, they apparently fixed it, so you can have either speaking them in English or speaking in Japanese with them pronouncing in Japanese language.
Because that can ruin it. It can, the dubbing, I think.
It was very distracting when I tried to play it because I thought really immerse myself to make it like they are Japanese characters. And but yeah, I just heard nothing but great. It does look visually stunning from what I've seen. So I'm really excited to actually own the game the way it's intended to.
I just wanted to quickly double back, guys, just for a second, because I've just checked it out on here. The Fable series is now owned as of 2020 by Playground Games, the makers of Forza Horizons. And they're obviously still a British company, so Fable will still be a British run created game, developed game, so that's brilliant. But also, in that trailer they released, it was Stephen Fry's voice still. So Stephen Fry is still voicing the narrator of the storyline, because obviously as you go through the Fable games, he narrates over Albion and over your character. So I just wanted to just put that back in there to just interject that. So obviously, continue.
No, that's fine. Yeah, and I think the last game I'm looking forward to is Back for Blood.
Yes, Back for Blood looks
zombie game, isn't it?
Really good.
Yeah, the zombie game from the original
Left 4 Dead.
Developers of the first Left 4 Dead.
First Left 4 Dead.
Because they made Left 4 Dead and it was distributed by Valve. And then Valve made the second one. I
think they bought the IP and made it. Yeah.
The first one.
The first one weren't that great.
Yeah, Left 4 Dead 2 easily could have just been a DLC for Left 4 Dead.
It could have been. It could have been just an extension of the first one.
Yeah, I think Left 4 Dead 2 is now at a point like how a lot of other games were back then, and have now become a more fully fleshed game with more updated content as it's gone. Like, not a great example because it actually was great from the start. Borderlands 2 had a lot of stuff in the core game, but like if you go and play the game now, there's like 20 to 30 different DLCs that have come since, and like they kept updating that game for at least 6 years, I think 5-6 years, and now Borderlands 3, which I'm replaying through at the minute, the amount of DLC that's available for that game as well is just
I think another example you can make that could be comparable is what's that game, Dead by Daylight.
Dead by Daylight, I was going to say the same. That game is fucking beautiful. I love it.
So the fact, it just sounds like a really cool concept, and yeah, I've been meaning to try play that one, but obviously you need friends to play on.
So I've got Dead by Daylight. If you want to play it,
well, have you got it on the PS4?
So it's cross-compatible. It is, so you can play.
I keep forgetting cross-compatible because I remember saying that 5-10 years ago. I was like, God, could you imagine like you like if you had an Xbox and then you had a PlayStation and another person had it on a PC, and they could still play the same game despite on different platforms. People like told me
back then, didn't it?
Sorry?
It sounded impossible back then.
That's the thing that they said to me. They were like, it just would work. There was just like different servers and this and that. And now it's possible.
Yeah, so you can connect with friends on PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch, but it's also on Stadia, and I think Stadia counts as PC anyway. So
they are, and that game is also going to have an upgrade on the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and S.
Yeah,
which is another game I've just thought of, and it's going to make me sound like an 8-year-old kid again. The remake of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, if you haven't played those.
I'm old enough to know that I didn't play it, but I knew my siblings had red and blue.
Yeah, my brother had the same.
And then not soon after because tried to separate, because obviously I got a brother and sister who were the same age. They kept always fighting over like different games. So obviously my parents bought separate Game Boys, and then I don't know who had what, but my brother and sister had blue and red. And then I was like, oh, where's my game? And then yellow came out, and I'm like, and my mum went, right, you're gonna get yellow. I was like, fine, perfect.
Ooh, that's good. So recently, it's just been announced there's a Resident Evil chapter for Dead by Daylight.
Yes.
Oh yeah, they did show that. Yeah, it was like you can play Leon Kennedy and
it looks so good. So
Claire
good.
Redfield, and the killer that you'd be playing is Nemesis. Although it's a bit weird because it's the two characters from Resident Evil 2, so surely shouldn't it be Mr. X?
Yeah. To be fair though, it just showed like that there's a great harmony between all the characters, because obviously some of the Resident Evil characters have been in some of the Super Smash Bros. Games in the past as well, which is good.
Okay. I mean, I don't know.
Actually, sorry about that. So Resident Evil has also been in Left 4 Dead 2, and vice versa. You could play Left 4 2. You could kill Left 4 Dead zombies, etc. in Left 4 Dead. No, sorry, Resident Evil. Sorry, yeah, Resident Evil. So you could play a whole level, I think, on Resident Evil 6, killing the zombies, the fast running zombies from Left 4 Dead 2. It was fucking insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird that we're still in a phase that we're thinking like, you know, of the Walking Dead that's still continuing, and I can't be bothered to watch that series anymore.
And it's the same. The Walking Dead's now on Disney Plus as well.
Yeah, but it's just
stopped watching it at 4.
I stopped watching it after the first series.
I went up to to be honest, I was the same. I watched up to the 4th series, and I just thought to myself, this is so repetitive. It's like
so repetitive and boring.
They go to a place, they think it's great, they board it up, then they realize they got other human factions to deal with, and then something happens, then the zombies somehow find a way in, then they have to run away, then they run out, and then they find another place that they think is great, and it's just rinse and repeat.
I think I watched the first episode of Series 6, it may have been, but it was wherever the first episode where Negan come into it. I watched that episode, and I haven't watched it since.
I think everyone's checked out on it, to be honest. I mean, it's just one of those shows where it's like the comic books. I think the comic books are still going.
No, the comic books ended.
Oh, they ended. Oh, fuck. But even still, like I remember somebody showed me how many issues or how many volumes or whatever it was, and I was like, there's that many. Jesus, like
no, because it's a podcast, people can't see this, but I've got 3 of these.
Yeah,
the compendiums. So I think the series actually ended with Rick dying, becoming a zombie.
Okay.
You know what? It's one of the problems I have with stuff like The Walking Dead is that, like, after the first series, I was like, okay, they've done a good job with this. I think if they're going to do another series, it's not got to go silly. And it went silly immediately, and I was like, I just can't deal with this because of the fact that, like, I knew that they was going to cash cow this. I could see it happening. And yes, the Vampire Diaries, which is also been almost like a cash cow, up to 8 series, they knew where to stop in the end, which I can be more graceful with the fact and understand. But The Walking Dead, they've just gone, right, let's just keep on money printing, you know?
Well, it's not even that. They just go like, well, we got a huge amount of material from the comic books. Let's just keep making it. And then there's always that one person that's go, do you think that's a good idea? Shut up!
It's like Game of Thrones. They literally went past the material from George R.R. Martin.
Well, that was now reported that George R.R. Martin has said, you know, my ending is going to be different.
Yeah,
but he was there as an advisor. He was an advisor and director of the show, so he could have easily have like helped him build the ending properly.
They could have, but they just they kind of rushed it because the creators D.B. Weiss and David Bernoff, they were going to be doing a Star Wars production.
Yeah,
but they must have saw what season 8 was like, and they went, "Nah, we're good."
There's only one reason I watched The Walking Dead. The main reason was, you know, John Berthel.
Yeah.
And I remember this series never actually come out. It was around the time the first or second series of The Walking Dead come out, and it had John Berthel in. So it would have been about the same time as Mafia 2 coming out of the game. And it was called Mob City.
Oh.
And it was
that was created by Frank Darabont, who did The Walking Dead and Shawshank Redemption.
Never got released, did it? Or it never got released in the UK because you can't actually buy the DVD.
Oh.
No, you can't.
Well, they restricted it.
No, it just didn't do well in the US.
Yeah.
Oh, so it never left the US shores. Okay.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Thinking of films like that, have you seen the Saints of Newark trailer?
The what? Sorry.
Saints of Newark.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, yes, I have.
That
Yeah,
looks amazing.
I've only seen the pilot episode of The Sopranos, and I know there's so many seasons. I still yet to go through them, but I've heard it's amazing. But yeah,
It's a bit of a slow burn, the first series, but it's one of these that gradually got better.
yeah. I mean, I'm a bit of a fan of David Chase's work, and it's the same with stuff like The Wire, which is, again, like you say, it's a slow burn thriller that deals with the drug crime and everything else, and it's the same with The Sopranos. But it's those type of gangster flicks that are that hard to come by, or unless it's directed by Martin Scorsese.
Yeah. Okay, one of the best Scorsese films, hands down, Raging Bull.
Or my favorite is actually Taxi Driver.
It is good, but I think Goodfellas are like.
Everyone says Goodfellas, and I do admit Goodfellas is fucking solid.
I just love that bit. Do you know where they do the heist? It's like, do not spend any money. They turn up to the Christmas doing all the fancy coats.
They all come in like, it's like, don't spend any money. Say, yo, family, guess what I bought for Christmas? And it's just, yeah, honestly, when they gave the Oscar to Scorsese for The Departed, we were all like, that's cool, but really?
You can't make it up.
I mean, now we can say Academy Award winner Martin Scorsese, but it's like it was the wrong movie to give it to him. But
definitely.
I think fans think it was like he was given, like it was like kind of like saying that basically that movie was the best. I mean, he could be,
I was going to.
Great,
well, I don't know. I think I was going to say it's probably what they, because obviously Roger Deakins, who's an amazing cinematographer, and you've probably heard of me, talk about him so much. But he was nominated for at least 13 to 14 times before he finally won it for Blade Runner 2049, which was like huge, like immensely what's the word? It's like he. I
think the film just didn't help itself anyway, because it was very confusing. It was for people who had never watched the original.
I've never seen them.
I never seen the original Blade Runner, so like me and my friend just got so confused by it.
You can. Well, I don't think it's confusing because you can watch the second one.
I understood it
straight in. But you do. I do say to people, you do have to watch the first one to fully get the idea of like what the world is.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, it was a CGI masterpiece. It was beautiful.
It looked stunning. Like it definitely deserved. That's it. That word. It really deserved all the awards for the cinematography.
I mean,
the visual effects.
Ryan Reynolds and Harrison Ford. They just
Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling. They worked off of each other just so beautifully.
And then obviously Roger Deakins got his second Oscar for 1917, which again that
without
was
a doubt, yeah. I mean, you was an extra in 1917, so like you.
Well, I worked on it for 2 weeks, yeah. So
that's a privilege to be a part of.
Was you one of the parts on the beach? Because I know there were a lot of extras for that.
You may be thinking of Dunkirk.
No, it's 1917. Do you know where they're running along the beach and it's one continuous shot, isn't it?
The whole film is one continuous shot.
Yeah.
You may think there's no beach in.
No, I'm thinking of the field. I think is like a massive field.
We did run across a field, and it was focusing on the main actor running, and yeah, I did that, and that took like so many takes, quite a few takes, and we shot like almost a week to get to that part. It's just the way that it was they tried that it was just how they have to do separate shots or from him starting from the woods, working down and talk to the sergeant, where's the captain or whatever, and then that would end, and then they would do the take where he's going down the trenches asking for him to stop the attack, and then we get attacked by mortar, I don't know what it is, but
mortar strike, yeah.
And that's when then they had to do a separate shot with him going over the top and then running across whilst we all run across the field.
Okay.
Wow. So it was very very complex how it was done, and it was just amazing just to see it happen.
It's one of the reasons why the movie deserved the awards it did, because of the amount of effort that went into every angle, just because it's such a masterpiece.
It just looks stunning, and like I mean, there's a reason why he's my favorite cinematographer. That he's just unbelievable.
He's unparalleled, unmatched.
I mean, other cinematographers like Emmanuel Lubezki is very close, but yeah, I mean. Yeah,
that like he's in his own sort of league because of how much respect that there is for him, and like how much he brings to the plate every time. Like he doesn't let down on how good he is. He keeps.
Oh no!
That's that progression.
I mean, obviously, winning an award or whatever doesn't mean it. I mean,
no.
It ain't mean anything. But the fact that he got recently knighted earlier, I think it was earlier this year or last year.
I think he did.
It was him and director Sam Mendes for their contribution in films. So,
without a doubt, they deserved that.
So, yeah, no, it was just for me. It was just a privilege to work on a production like that, and I don't think I'll ever have that sort of experience ever again.
I mean, yeah, you have those life experiences in in everyone's careers that like you'll take to the grave with you, because they're just that brilliant, aren't they? And like even at your age now, Owen, like you're still quite a young person, so like you still have the potential for something even bigger than that to happen, which is very exciting, isn't it?
Well, as they always say, the sky is the limit. So.
Exactly. And I mean, even with you, Sam, like your knowledge of all the movies and stuff like that, like that could take you somewhere big.
Well, this was one of the things I wanted to do.
Comics.
For me, I always wanted to do photography or acting, and I was going to go to acting classes. But when COVID broke out, the only logical step was use your camera more, because I had this tool in my hands, whereas acting classes and stuff were shut down, and it's something I couldn't have done at the time.
Yeah, that kind of career path had basically been put on pause quite quickly.
I feel sure I'll go back to it at some point, but for the now, what I'm doing is the main thing.
I will say that I did. Luckily, I made some amazing friends, and when I did an acting workshop for somebody that I just talked to on Instagram, and I just shared their work, and we started talking, and I said to him, I always wanted to be an actor, but I've always been interested in behind the camera as well. And he just said, like, well, why don't you just come on and join the workshop and to see how it goes. And then we did it over Zoom, which is obviously not ideal, but it was the only thing that we could probably do.
It's quite mad, isn't it, that you can make stuff like that happen, though, like even to a certain degree.
Yeah, I mean, it was just the fact that that it was really cool, that the fact that he set up like scripts for you to read and play against another actor on the Zoom call, and the way he was just done, like it was just really, and the fact that everyone gave really useful feedback. They also not just patted you on the back or anything. When they did give criticism, it was constructive.
It was there. The support and the drive was there for everyone. Yeah, everyone was there together for each other. They weren't just there for themselves.
No, well, the fact that a lot of them I mean, again, doesn't mean anything, but most of them were on Spotlight, and the fact that they were giving me praise for my work as an actor, that kind of meant something, because obviously I don't have any acting credentials whatsoever. I've just studied film, and that's about it. So I've always learned for directing, writing, and producing, and I don't really get into cinematography or editing, but I have done it previously, and then obviously read it, watched it, heard from it, everything else. So I've learned it along the way, so I would understand what makes a good image a good image. And it's the same thing with acting. Like you always, if you have the mindset for it, if you're watching a performance in a film or a TV series or a mini series even, or whatever, or you watch actors talking amongst each other, like I can't remember, it's the Hollywood Reporter or the Variety on YouTube. There's episodes of two actors just discussing all of their work and the way that you just
I
listen
think
to.
that might be the Hollywood Reporter, but I get the feeling it's Variety.
Well, the Hollywood Reporter, I think they do the Actors Roundtable, and they also have Directors Roundtable.
They do.
I think then Variety do actors on actors discussions. So I think the fact that with over lockdown, I don't know the rest of you, but it's just the fact that there's so much information like on YouTube or on the internet that is, in the palm of your hands even.
Oh, I won't disagree on that. I think that since the infancy of YouTube, there has been always a brilliant sort of like understanding of how to turn it into a knowledge bank for anything. Like, I know we've got the likes of Skillshare now around.
Skillshare, yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Skillshare, if it's worth the money to you, then it's great. But for just, one or two YouTube videos, or for more than that, like, I'm not even joking when I say this, but I've struggled with maths for many years. I don't think I've ever said this on the podcast, but watching somebody visually explain maths to me on a YouTube video just blew my mind, because like even though I'm a tech person and that kind of thing, just those little key things that like can just push you over the finish line, that they make tenfold. They're so great. And I mean, I've learned so many things on YouTube. Like I'm self-taught in photography, and I'm self-taught in a lot of things. I mean, that says a lot about the internet age, as all of us here. Obviously, we're all just as the technology age was really getting big. Dial-up was a thing, even still when you were just getting, starting your early years, Sam. And like broadband came in, and then we got fiber optic, and now you can pick up a personal hotspot on your phone.
It's
anywhere.
Almost like there's no excuse for it to not.
There's no excuse not to look on the internet. Like, obviously, the fabled old thing, don't trust everything on the internet, goes without saying. Don't go on WebMD and expect that the first thing you read is basically that you're gonna die from this disease or some shit. You take it with a pinch of salt. On that kind of thing. But YouTube, also, bloody hell.
The way I see it, because everything's on the internet, it doesn't mean you always have to use the internet. Like you say, photography, on the same, you're self-taught. A lot of people be like, oh, I can't figure this out, just YouTube it. But it's also nice to just figure it out yourself, because then you get that sense of achievement, don't you?
It's the old saying goes like the trial and error of figuring out what works and what didn't. Like the same, like I'm soon to use my this phone as my camera for photography and videography, just because I want to show people that you don't have to have
the gear is not always that important.
You don't have to have a DSLR or a mirrorless camera or anything like that. You can use something that in your pocket to create something really cool. And there have been people like I can't remember his name. I know the first name, but I can't remember the last name. But it's Geordie something. That if you've seen on his Instagram, actually I'm gonna have to look. But yeah, it's just mad, like what you can achieve.
Things when I started photography, I started using an iPhone 5. That's how I found out I got into photography, with an iPhone 5. I was on holiday in Spain, and you can actually see on my last post, Josh, with the palm trees. I openly say that is going back to my roots, because I started in a hot country with an iPhone 5, and that's when I found out, what.
Got round full circle.
Yeah. So just stuff like that. And yeah, like you say, you don't always have to use these big cameras, because I think there's a film called, Unhinged. What's it called?
I think it's Unhinged.
Unsafe.
Unsafe.
No,
it's with Claire Foy. That's it.
Entirely filmed on an iPhone.
Yeah.
I think.
There was also another film that was made before. It was a film called Tangerine. That was shot on an iPhone 4, I think. And they just
make these big films, like going to cinema with these like little things what you have in your pocket every day. The everyday person doesn't necessarily need a camera to get good photos, do they? If you can't take a photo or a good video, that's on you, I think.
Oh, gosh,
exactly. I mean,
it's all about trial and error.
Yeah, I've just found who he is. It's Geordie Kolitic.
Yes, I recognise that name. Yeah. And
there's another guy that I've just started to follow, and he's actually a really kind of cool guy that is called JD the Camera Guy.
Okay.
And he always starts with his TikTok videos. Still taking pictures like this. Stop taking pictures like this, and he shows you how to do a better way. Yeah, cool. I've just bought his presets, which looks amazing. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited to kind of check that out because I've just added them on Lightroom. So
The thing that I love is that like quite a lot of this, this creative scene has had like key people like Peter McKinnon linked with it. Like obviously his background of like he's done loads of things throughout his life, and like he was really good at doing like leather work and doing I think fixing watches, and then he moved into photography and videography, and all those past traits have come in to that current like sphere of YouTube and all that creativity. And then of course you've got the guy, the gear doesn't matter guy, of course, Mr. Casey Neistat. I mean, if you've never heard of Casey Neistat and you're in photography or videography, you need to book your ideas up because he really made a shift in the scene.
There's a few creators I follow, like Peter McKinnon, and he's got his Pete's Pirate Life brand.
Yeah, I love that. He set a whole Instagram account up, didn't tell anyone it was him until he built it up to like 100k or something, right?
Yeah. But there's two lads I follow. They're from Melbourne, Australia. You probably know them, Josh. North Borders and Seventh Era.
No, I don't. Sorry. Send me them after. Send them after to me on Instagram.
And they're really good. North Borders, Seventh Era. Two guys from Melbourne, Australia. They have Sonys like you. They just do pure street photography, and they do use the mobile phones, but they do photography battles, which I mentioned to you a while back when we first met.
Okay.
Everything. They use mobile phones, which was the last one they did for their photography battle. I think they were going on about using just a select f-stop at one point. Like you could only use like one f-stop for a whole photo shoot.
That's sick.
Different things like that. And yeah, they're really good because they do a bit of everything. But then you got these stark contrasts. You look at Peter McKinnon, which is like the top of the photography game, or one of the top to the photography game.
Oh gosh, yeah. Definitely.
Then look at these guys, and they are amazing in their own right, and they're just like they're not bad at all.
They're not a copycat. They're unique.
Yeah, they have their own style, and their style is usually a lot of like neon. It's very rarely they go out and shoot in the day. It's usually rain or night time, so they're all about the neons and stuff. But check them out; they're really good.
That's fantastic. I've just sent you guys in our group chat that we set up for the podcast tonight. This guy is named. I forget his actual name, but his name's Bod's Official on Instagram. He only shoots with iPhone. Look at the photos. They're so amazing.
I'm just looking at, and they just. That's the thing about it. Like it's all about like it doesn't matter what gear you have. If you can make something interesting with it, then
that's good.
He's got some really cool photography. He has.
This is what I mean. If you can't take a good photo with the equipment you have, it's in the harshest way possible. It's you.
Oh yeah, it is down to you to do that because
good photo videos on you.
Yeah,
100%. 100%.
But yeah,
I just think that like I was very much inspired by the fact that he could do all that crazy cool stuff with his iPhone. I mean, on his second account, he hasn't posted much to recently, but he's even done portraits as well, and like you can just see the beautiful depth of field. Like he's really like enhanced the photography that the iPhone gives you. And I mean, your iPhone is the same as his iPhone. It's the 12 Pro. I mean, he's got the Max one, but it's the Pro. And at the end of the day, the Pro one can do like what is it? It can do is it 10-bit or 12-bit? I forget. 10-bit, I think it is. 10-bit video, which for you, Owen, will be brilliant because that's an evolving standard at the minute in videography, and that's what you're focusing on as well as photography. So you're going to get some really great Dolby. Is it Dolby Atmos or Dolby?
Dolby. I think it's Dolby Atmos for the audio. There's Dolby Vision.
Dolby Vision. That's it.
Well, this is the thing as well. You can also, for the iPhone, I personally wouldn't get them because I've got my camera, but you can get the little lens add-ons for your iPhone, can't you? You can get like a little macro lens, what you can attach to your actual
Owen can show you now. I mean, obviously people are only hearing this podcast, but he's got his gear there.
Yeah. That is so cool, isn't it? That's like to think you can get these if you wasn't bothered about getting a camera, because cameras aren't for everybody. They're really
not at all. So the cool thing about what I've got is So I got a filter, both a filter adapter and a filter mount with my stuff, because just in case if you didn't want to shoot with the lenses, which I've now got 3 lenses. So I've got the anamorphic lens with the gold flare. And the reason I wanted that is because I wanted a more of a natural sort of flare rather than like a sci-fi sort of blue flare, which they also have. Also got the can't remember which one that is, but basically one of them is a tele and one's a wide.
Yeah.
So you still get the DSLR sort of quality. And these are all from Moment. So they're based in Seattle. I've been using them for quite some time now, and it's only just recently I've started becoming really serious about mobile photography and videography. So here I've got the filters, which so I've got the variable ND filter, which is like one of the first things I bought because you need an NT filter, which a lot of photographers and videographers would tell you that's one of the things you need. So I got so that's a 2 to 5 stop, and then the other filters I've got is the anti-glare CPL filter, and then the Cinebloom diffusion filter, and it's a 20% diffusion filter. So so obviously it is quite pricey, but the thing is, for me at least, I think it is definitely worth the investment if you are looking to make some sort of excuse to be creative. And
a good person to look at on YouTube, you'd probably like these, Owen. He's called Jared Poland. He goes by Frono's Photos.
Yeah, Frono's Photos. I know the guy.
Yeah, he does a lot. He usually does stuff with mobile stuff, so you can kind of just like see what sort of stuff he does with a mobile. He is really well known, I think, but not as like on Peter McKinnon's level, but he's getting there. But he does everything. He's got actually every camera, and he does a lot with phone photography. He doesn't do the video side of thing, but he does a lot of photography with them.
Yeah, and now I've just obviously I bought a gimbal from Freefly, and then also because the lenses are quite heavy, I bought a counterweight to purchase that, which you can still buy brand new on the Freefly website. You just can't buy the gimbal because they've just discontinued it for some strange reason.
Yeah.
And then I've recently just bought on the Moment website the ProPhoto C1 Plus, which is a really cool like mobile light, which you can connect on your you can either connect on your mobile phone or your camera as well.
That's so cool.
And then also added these magnetic click creative gel kits. So you got blue, pink, and then yellow, and you could put one on top of the other just to, if you want to say, oh, I wanted to have a green color or orange or whatever, that you just put one on top of the other. It's really cool.
That's cool.
I have got to apologise, guys, because my laptop is almost about to run out. It's on 10%. So if it goes off, that's why.
No worries.
I think we are coming around to quite a natural, progressive way to end the podcast, though, I feel like. I feel like it's been a great episode. I think the direction it's gone in actually was better than I could have expected. I mean, I would love to do more creative talk, obviously, outside of the movies and TV show stuff that we progressively moved into, which was really good. And it got a chance to, kind of understand little bits about you as well, Sam, in this episode. So really pleased when we got there.
More about me, so hopefully you'll be able to get that in a future episode.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back on again. I'm sure Owen is very much in agreement. Like, we've all had a great episode time here. We've had a great time talking together.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, every guest that we bring on board has always been fascinated to get know of. So
yeah, I mean, like our last episode, we had our last guest episode we had on Olivia Hack, of course. And she was great to talk to, and we want to get back on again to talk more about her collaboration experiences and her natural.
I mean, our first guest was all the way from Canada, which was Mindy.
Yeah,
Mindy. But unfortunately, due to her job, she can't come back to the job because it's
come back to the job. You mean come back to the podcast?
It's government work, so that's. I mean, she was told apparently. She asked to say, am I able to go on like stuff like podcasts and stuff? And they like say you can, but you just have to be really careful what you can talk about. And she said to me, like, just to avoid the stress of it, she's just not decide not to.
Yeah, she was going to come on our episode to talk about something that's probably, obviously it's a bit more below the bar in terms of like, what things are like, enthusiastic and good in the world. Because obviously she could get, interjected with the workplace. Obviously,
people can take things in a different light when they listen to it, can't they? Twist.
That's the problem with free speech. People hear it one way and another way, but that's free speech for you. It's got to be there.
It's great and it's typical.
But yeah, honestly, it's been a great episode again. I'll say thank you very much for joining us again, Sam. And say, where can everyone find you again?
Yeah, definitely. I'll be looking forward to it.
And where can they find you again? Sorry, mate.
Sam.singer2000 on the Instagram.
Nice. And of course, we've been your host as always, Josh Deakin at Mr. Josh Deakin.
And your co-host, Owen Burkett at Owen.Burkett.
Until next episode, this might be the last time we're saying it. Obviously, while it being a legal thing, just obviously staying safe is obviously the normal one. Wear a mask while you're still told to wear a mask, and even if you're not told to wear a mask, do it out of decency, because I think it's the best thing you can do in closed spaces. Owen will agree. I'm sure Sam will agree as well. At this point, it's become so stupid in everywhere in the world. But the one thing we can kind of say as an overarching theme: stay safe. Keep enjoying your life. Do the creative stuff. Enjoy the TV shows and movies. Do your part. Yeah. That's what we're saying as well.
The one thing I always think of: we watch these heroes on the screen. It's time for the real heroes to do the job and just help in taking part in this thing. What's going on right now?
I couldn't agree more. That's brilliant. And yeah, until next time, we'll see you very soon. Take care and goodbye.
See you then.